Thanks for joining us again on Film at 11. Once again, part two with District Attorney Ricky Smith. Ricky, one of the things that I felt would be a great thing to do for our audience, most people don't understand the grand jury process. And if you would be so kind to explain that to our viewers in a step-by-step process, because too often I hear, well, the police department, the sheriff's department didn't do X, Y, or Z, or the district attorney didn't do X, Y, and Z, when in essence there's a process and a procedure there that the public in a lot of cases is totally unaware of how it works.
I will, and that's true, that there is a process that the criminal justice system has to go through in order to bring a person to trial. It begins, of course, with an arrest. The arrest occurs first. Then the investigating agency, either Warren County Sheriff's Department, Vicksburg Police Department, Mississippi Bureau of Narcotics, Gaming Commission, they have to do an investigation. Once their investigation is complete, then they provide us with a case file. We review the case file. If there's anything that we need or we think there needs to be additional investigation into it, we'll do that with that investigating agency. But once it gets to a point that we think it's ready to proceed, then we're required by the Constitution of the state to present that case to a grand jury. And what a grand jury is, it's a group of about 18, well, it has to be at least 18, but it could be up to 20 people, according to whether the judge thinks there needs to be 20 or 18. And that group of individuals will then review every case that we have, that we've got ready for trial. And that will be done by generally putting on testimony from the investigating officer to tell the grand jury what evidence we have, what points to the individual that we think committed the crime, and then the grand jury will vote and determine whether or not there needs to be a trial on that. And I think it's a great system. It does take some time to get a case to trial sometimes, but I think it's a great system because it's a protective measure for the citizens of the community. In my position, I'm able to make the determination as to who's going to be prosecuted and who's not. And if there's not a connection with another jurisdiction or there's not a connection with a federal crime, then that's the end of it. Nobody can go above me and say, yeah, you have to prosecute this, or nobody can prosecute a case that I've decided not to prosecute. So that rests a lot of decision-making ability within one person. And what the grand jury does is that protects the community from that one person becoming overzealous or maybe picking individuals out in the community that he wants to target. Because in order for me to get the indictment, which is what the grand jury returns, I've got to prove to that grand jury that I do have the evidence that necessitates a trial. And if they don't believe I do, then they will return a no bill and I cannot prosecute that case. So in essence, the grand jury, and I tell every grand jury that, I said, you are a very important process, part of the process of the criminal justice system, because you have two very important goals. One is to protect the community against an overzealous prosecutor, but also to help protect the community by working with the district attorney to be able to get cases ready for trial.
Now there's a third step that finds itself into that process on occasion where charges are reduced and remanded back to either the justice court or the municipal court. On occasion, I think even the county court would come into play on some of them.
That's right. And that does happen. The grand jury has the ability to either return a true bill, which means that they indict the person and then that's set for trial sometime in the future. Or they can no bill, which means that they don't feel there's enough evidence to go forward at all. Or they can reduce that crime to a misdemeanor. They can say that we believe that you need to prosecute it as a misdemeanor. But generally what those entail are property crimes, because in order for most property crimes to be a felony, we have to prove that there is at least a $500 limit in the property that is stolen, property that is damaged, those types of things. And sometimes we can't. You know, my grandmother's ring that she left to me may be worth, probably couldn't put a price tag on it. But in our system, the way we look at it, it's what will it sell for today. So when that person comes and says, my grandmother's ring was stolen and it's worth $5,000, but when we pull up online or we get an expert to appraise it and it's worth $300, then to the person that the ring is stolen from, it crosses that $500 level, and so the original charge may be grand larceny. But once we get to a grand jury, the grand jury may say, well, you can't prove that it's greater than $500 in value, so we're going to ask that you, or direct that you pursue it as a misdemeanor. And that's how sometimes misdemeanors come out of the grand jury.
Okay, in addition to hearing the criminal indictments and things of that nature, the grand jury is also charged with doing inspections of county buildings and property, making recommendations. We referenced the jail in last night's episode. For years, as long as I can remember, they've been making the recommendation to build another facility. But let's speak a little bit on those duties as well.
Well, they do. They have a right to actually inspect any books of any county authority they want to. They've not asked to do that since I've been in office. What they generally do is inspect the jail. They inspect the courthouse. They'll be taken through the courthouse and shown the different areas of the courthouse and what different offices are here. We lately have taken them to youth court. Judge Price has asked them to come and inspect the youth court building, attend some of the youth court hearings so that they can be made aware of what actually is going on in youth court. Of course, Judge Price, understandably, because of the position he has, is very interested in juvenile justice situations. And so they go there. We have, over the last few grand juries, have also taken them down to the children's shelter and allow them to spend some time at the children's shelter to see what's going on down there. But they have the authority, and they have in the past. The jail situation, namely, they have the authority to request people to come talk to them, and they have in the past requested members of the Board of Supervisors to come talk to them about where we were on the jail and what was going on with that. They've requested the Chief of Police to come talk to them. So they can request to have other individuals come and speak. Of course, in Warren County, the grand jury meets 4 times a year, and we've been averaging presenting somewhere between 90 and 100 cases per grand jury. So that takes up most of the week. When you add then jail inspection, the youth court inspection, that takes them usually through Thursday, and they're pretty real ready to go home by then.
Now, as part of the process, through the years, I've noticed occasionally they would make recommendations, adding more staff to your office, more investigative staff in either the police or sheriff's department. But those are just, in fact, recommendations, are they not?
That is correct, and that's what both the circuit court judges always tell the grand jurors at the end, because the circuit court judge, either Judge Patrick or Judge Cheney, will meet with them at the end of the grand jury, and the grand jury report has to be read into the record. But the judges will tell them that we appreciate your recommendations, but that's exactly what they are. It's just recommendations. They can't direct any entity to do anything. They can only recommend things to be done.
We're going to wrap it up for tonight on Film at 11. Tomorrow night we're going to get into one of the controversial subjects in our community today, incarceration and why certain people are back on our streets.